Episode 2 of HBO's The Last of Us continues in its loving recreation of the video game's story, while also providing the biggest deviations from the game world so far. The episode is aptly titled Infected, since the cordyceps takes center stage, doing a very good but albeit a bit twitchy rendition of Wicked, 2 out of 10. We all got a glimpse of the runners in the first episode's chaotic beginnings, but now we are introduced to the next level of infected, the joggers. The clickers. While the runners in the first episode moved more aggressively and carelessly than their gaming counterparts, the clickers' body movements are one-to-one. Clickers awkwardly twitch and stumble around just as they do in the game, blindly searching for their prey. But once they hear some noise, they perk their cauliflower heads out and flail their arms wildly to bring back unpleasant memories for fans of the game. Joel, Ellie, and Tess's encounter with the clickers in the show convincingly captures the tense gameplay scenarios these enemies produce. As gripping as the action may be, the first half of the episode spends most of its time explaining how the infected work in the TV show, and lots of it boils down to lengthy expository dialogue. However, it is necessary for viewers to understand, especially for those who have played the game, because the infected in the show have unique attributes to them that the show needs to let the fans know before continuing. Bloaters and shamblers from the games are described by Ellie as tall tales she heard back at the Boston QZ. Tess laughs off these ideas, implying they do not exist in this version. Spores don't exist in HBO's rendition of The Last of Us either, and are instead replaced with cordyceps roots that spread underground and connect all the infected runners to one another. It's used to give the infected a hive mind-like quality that doesn't exist in the video games. Now, a dead infected from one side of town can alert more infected from the opposite side of town. Call up his friends, his family, maybe go bowling with his cousin. The infected get better cell service than any of the humans. They must have Verizon. Can you hear me now? It's a strange choice that comes into play later in the episode, so there is always a looming threat of infected enemies on the rise. An even stranger choice is giving Tess a passionate makeout session with an infected, and I wish that was a joke. It's hard to judge how much it adds or detracts from the show just yet, but episode 2 does utilize the hive mind to contextualize iconic moments effectively and convincingly. The episode begins again with another flashback, this time just before the outbreak in Indonesia, where an expert on cordyceps infections is being taught the harrowing discovery the government has just made. Initially, expanding this far into the roots of the outbreak felt needless, but by the end of the episode, I found the intro to be an intriguing way to punctuate the episode's main focus. That being to express how threatening and dire this apocalyptic infection truly is. By sharing this, they explain how important Ellie is to the entire world. Focusing on the infected brings the audience back to Ellie's bite from the last episode. Joel is far more skeptical of her immunity than Tess, and the show goes to great lengths to make Ellie's immunity loud and clear to the audience. This is done by giving Ellie another bite during the clicker fight to prove she is not lying. Geez, Ellie, freaking learn how to fight. Nobody could survive 2 bites. That's crazy talk. Focusing on a second bite does reinforce Tess's ultimate reveal of her own bite mark at the end of the episode. Tessa's rapid attachment towards Ellie's life and desperation for Joel's loyalty to her lands strong, with Ellie's privilege as a powerful comparison point. This episode demonstrates the show's willingness to take its time, especially with Joel and Ellie's growing relationship, since it only gives us a quick moment alone with these two characters just to watch them emotionally push back at each other. Ellie isn't all snark and bitterness. She gets to show a bit more of her wide-eyed self here, but the world is still a brutal place, even with a fraction of the deadly infected and survivors they have to deal with in the show. Episode 2 further solidifies The Last of Us as must-watch television by not only being a fan-favorite adaptation, but by finding the most compelling ways to tell its story with subtle nuance that make each episode feel like a complete tale of survival. But I still cried more in the Uncharted movie when Sully walked into a Papa John's. It's beautiful.
Hey, fuck you, man. I didn't ask for this.
Me neither. Tess, what the hell are we doing here?
What if it's true?